Gentlemen, a very good evening to you both, and thank you for coming in. Let me begin with you, Mnigelo, and get the feeling of the family tonight as your son goes back to that cell.
It's devastating. It's devastating for us, and we go home to sleep tonight in our own homes. He must go back to prison, so you can imagine how we feel.
And Vikas, I mean, what Mnigelo is saying was captured, I think, quite succinctly by many of the other Fees Must Fall activists who were in court today. The mood went from a deep sadness to just rage as many of them left the court. And I'm wondering, apart from this offer of assistance for a presidential pardon, what other options are available to Kanya Cekeshe tonight?
Well, what we're doing for Kanya now, and if I can just add to him, the family is devastated. I spoke with the mom at length afterwards, and she is really in an absolute state. And you can understand that. Her son has been sent back to jail. What me and Tembeka are busy with, in fact, we finished the appeal, to appeal the refusal of the bail application today, and we hope to issue that in court tomorrow morning. So apart from the politics and what the students can do in street, the legal avenue now is to get an urgent appeal hearing for the bail that was refused.
Let's speak about the High Court proceedings that there's an application that I understand is pending there, which was cited today as part of the reasons, I understand it, for this denial of both an appeal of the conviction and the sentence. What exactly are you seeking at the High Court, and how does it differ from what was being dealt with today?
So what's currently in the High Court is a petition for leave to appeal both the conviction and the sentence. That process was filed middle of September. The new application we're bringing in the High Court is now the appeal on the bail hearing that we received today. But in essence, the initial High Court application, the petition, is for the High Court to grant us leave to appeal both the conviction and the sentence.
And are you hopeful that that will succeed?
Very. We believe once fresh eyes and fresh ears get sight of the application and look at all the facts and the proceedings and the way Kanya was treated or mistreated by the law, we are very sure that a judge will come to a different opinion than the magistrate.
Let me ask you the same question then, Mnigelo. As a family that's been going through this from as far back as 2017 when he was convicted and sentenced, are you hopeful that Kanya will come out?
Look, we've walked the legal journey. It's taken us so far. We can only believe and hope that Vikas and Tembeka will carry on with the good work that we think they're doing.
And when you speak to your nephew, what does he say? How is he feeling at this point?
He thought I was going home last week. When we first went to court, he thought I was going home. So, I mean, he's obviously devastated.
And as far as the events of 2016, because this all comes from what happened during the Fees Must Fall protest, he's said to have set a police vehicle alight. There was later an admission of guilt. Yes, that's been challenged because you guys are saying that the legal team that was in charge of the case at the time failed him. Does Kanya Cekeshe tonight have any regrets about the events of 2016?
I think only Kanya can speak to that. We can speculate, we can throw bones, but ultimately he can only speak to whatever he's feeling.
Speak about this offer to assist with the presidential pardon. Is that the quickest way to get him out?
We finally found a response from the minister. We applied for this pardon as far back as March. Today was the first time that I heard back from anybody. I've sent letters and emails to the minister, to the president, to various MPs, anybody that would listen. And only today, when another media house queried the Minister Lamola on his tweet and on the pardon, that someone from the Department of Justice phoned me and offered their assistance. But their offer is also limited. They just said I must follow the process and they'll push it through the system as soon as they can. But like I said, we've been battling since March to get any response to the pardon application.
Is it a particularly long process?
From my side, no. Once it goes into the system, and it must be considered by Minister Lamola and then by President Ramaphosa, who knows how long that can take. The recommendation from the minister can come quickly, but the president might drag his feet for various reasons.
The charge here was malicious damage to property, as I understand it. Given the circumstances under which this happened, what would have been a more fitting sentence for someone convicted of such a charge?
If we stick to what the probation officer said in her pre-sentencing report, she analysed Kanya, the entire protest, and the reason why he took part in it, and the reasons that motivated him in doing what he did. And she motivated a non-custodial sentence, meaning house arrest or some form of probation, but not direct imprisonment. And the correct sentence for Kanya would have been a non-custodial sentence, community service or something like that. But to send someone that was fighting for the rights of others and fighting for free education or affordable education to prison, the same sentence that murderers get, if I can point to Oscar Pistorius' initial sentence, it's grossly unfair. He should definitely not have been sent to direct imprisonment, and a non-custodial sentence should have been appropriate for him.
Nigelo, as a family, did you ever think that it would take this long, apart from what we've seen in the past 2 weeks, when the news initially came that he'd been arrested and there'd be a trial? Did you think that in 2019 you'd still be sitting here trying to get him freed?
Never did we ever imagine that. So after he was convicted, we thought, look, we're going to appeal and then sanity will prevail, but here we are today, still fighting.
In reading out his verdict today, the magistrate said that the argument that you guys put forward as Kanya Cekeshe's legal team, that he had been failed essentially by his previous legal representatives, and that's how he got into the admission of guilt and indeed the sentence and all of that. The magistrate saying that, well, once one has appointed a legal team and they put forward an argument, you as the accused or the convicted person then have to go with whatever the outcome of that. Legally, how easy is it to challenge that position?
That reasoning is flawed. That reasoning is based on a judgment from 1994. Since then, we've got a myriad of Supreme Court of Appeal judgments going strictly against that, giving a list of requirements that a magistrate must comply with when a guilty plea is tendered by an accused. And all of these new judgments contradict the 94 judgment that the magistrate today relied on. So the legal process, just based on legal authority they have from the Supreme Court of Appeal, makes our life much easier, and the authority is clear that there are certain requirements the magistrate should have met, certain things he should have done in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act that he didn't do, and the authority confirmed that magistrates must do that. It's not a case of he may or may not. It's a case of he must do it.
What happens when a higher court, as you're going to appeal now, confirms this judgment? Will you go as far as the Constitutional Court, for instance?
I have not consulted with Kanya or Tembeka on that aspect, but our main goal is to get Kanya out, come hell or come high water. So I believe personally that we will go as far as we should.
Nigelo, how far are you as a family willing to go to get Kanya Cekeshe released?
We want our kid home. I mean, it's a no-brainer for us. If it means taking it to the con court and there means to do that, we'll do that. But he has to come home.
I want to come back to the impact that all of this has had on the family. How have you guys been getting by under the circumstances almost 3 years later, essentially?
It's been rough. I mean, Kanya's got siblings, a brother and a sister that he's very close with. That he used to be their confidant, and now they see him every other weekend. Just from that perspective, it's rough. And then, I mean, obviously the parents, us, it takes its toll, but we try to stay strong for him. We try to portray, strength, to give him strength. And that's all we can do.
If you could speak directly then to the Justice Minister, Ronald Lamola, who's extended this offer of assistance, and indeed the President, what would you as Kanya Cekeshe's relatives say?
I just find it curious that they come out today on Twitter and say they're willing to assist. I mean, kids walked from KZN to Leeuwkop to Mahlombandlovu to hand over a petition to free Kanya Cekeshe in January. So they've known about this. It's not like it just materialized. They've known about it. And I just find it very curious that today they're willing to assist, whatever assist means.
Can I take that further and ask you if you think it's political opportunism, perhaps?
I told someone last week that there are a lot of coincidences when it comes to this case. Maybe this is one of the coincidences. I don't know.
So, Vikas, the case itself, I mean, you were saying just a short time ago that in the magistrate's reasoning, a lot of the case law is flawed because there have been successful appeals of similar reasoning in the Supreme Court of Appeal. To what extent could Kanya Cekeshe's matter become precedent setting, especially with cases of malicious damage to property and the sort?
I think because there's been so many cases that overturned the judgment that the magistrate relied on today, I don't think we'll set case law. The law has been set. The case law has overturned the judgment that the magistrate relied on. We're not changing the law. We're just complying and following the law as it stands now.
Quickly recap then. So you guys are going to lodge an appeal. This happens when? Tomorrow?
Hopefully tomorrow. Temeka and I finished drafting just before I came here. We did speak to the Chief Prosecutor and the Director of Public Prosecutions about our application as well, to get it before a judge as soon as we can. And we follow the process, so we hope to issue by tomorrow.
Vikas Mnikelo, thank you so much to your time. Thank you very much for your time, I should say, tonight. Thank you.